So good morning, everybody. Welcome to another one of our business education webinars. And today we are going to be talking about how do we build a high performance culture, right? We're going to discuss the components of building a high performance culture, the consequences of not creating that culture. And I say because if you don't establish your culture, your employees will. And then you have the foxes guarding the hen house, and that doesn't always work out well in the end, right? So what I like to do is introduce myself for some of you that don't know me. My name is Steve Goranson with Action Coach Business Coaching. Action Coaches, we are the world's largest coaching organization with over 1,000 offices, 70 different countries around the world. I think we're trying to compete with McDonald's and Coca-Cola with that. And I've owned and operated the North Florida office of Action Coach here for the past 15, going into right now my 16th year. And I like to say is that my clients tend to work smarter, not harder. Hopefully that sounds interesting to you guys. You know, what we do is by coaching business owners, we get their businesses working harder so they don't have to, they can enjoy more life. And that's what we're going to sort of talk about is some of the things that we could do, because I help my clients sharpen their business intuition by showing them the factors that really make their business thrive, how to create high performance, on working on solutions that really matter. And today what we're going to do is the area that really matters is our team and our company culture, and how to create and how to build a high performance culture. So if you are ready, we are going to jump in and we're going to get started. So, all right, let's start off with the basics. What is our company culture? A company culture, I like to think of it, it's a synthesis of our values, our vision, our mission, and the purpose that sits at the center of any successful business. It's how we do things. It's our success behaviors that we have agreed upon as a company, an organization, as a team. It's a cohesive atmosphere that permeates a company that directly affects the way that people work within the company. It's that simple. So culture is not something that can be fabricated when one is lacking as no amount of like company perks or cool furniture, or just hip employees create culture, right? It's a lot more than that. It's one of the most important things, though, to get right in becoming a successful company. And I'm going to share with you at the end why it's really important to get that right in the beginning, because it's going to be a lot more difficult as you grow, because a strong internal culture is necessary to create also a strong and a lasting brand. So you want to make sure that you get that right from the beginning. So let's take a look at what it takes to get there. All right. So it starts off with, what do I stand for? What do you stand for, right? What your company is and what it stands for is as important for your business as the products and the services you sell. Because we all know people buy from who they like and they trust. So identifying what you stand for at your core, your business's core, your personal core, is essential how you will live and you will perform. So in short, it's your company's values, or like I'm going to say is your success behaviors, and getting to the heart of those values means everything to your business. So in short, it's your company's values that really make it stick. Get your company and build your brand. And what I stand for is, as I sort of mentioned earlier, is working smarter, not harder. And how that came about, it just wasn't an idea that popped into my head, and it took me a while to work on it, and I didn't realize it until I was having a conversation with my father before he passed away. And my father was a Korean War vet. He came home, really didn't have a college education, but he was a pretty sharp guy and a hard worker. And he got this job working with this company. He was promoted up, and he was like a manager within the department. He was doing really well. We were, as a family, we were growing, so on and so forth. But he had this entrepreneurial spirit. He wanted to start and open up his own business. So he went and he opened up that the business, and it started off really good in the beginning, but then as he started building up, he ran into challenges, and he was just working really harder, and he was on this windmill of going around and around in circles, working harder but not smarter. And it was like the bigger he grew, the harder he worked, and he wasn't able to enjoy his really the hard work that he put in, the benefits of that. And really what he found out was, in the end, he was really good at what he did. He just sucked at running a business. And he's telling me this, and I'm sharing with him some of the things I'm doing with my clients. It's like, if there would have been somebody like me that would have helped my dad to work smarter, so he didn't have to work harder, not only would his life would have been easier, my sisters and my life growing up would have been easier. It would have been a lot less stressful for my mom. I would have been able to see my dad a lot more. So is those things, and so that's really what I stand for, is helping businesses to work smarter, not harder, to get their businesses working harder so they don't have to, and they can enjoy more life. So when in business world, we're all moving really fast. So fast we never stop to reflect on what the business is becoming, because your business is a reflection of you. Yeah, it's a mirror of you. It's your values and what's going on, and this is mostly due to the mindset that and really what happens is we're moving so fast we don't stop. And when we don't stop, it really is what's happening is that, and the reason we don't is because we can't stop that workflow, and because we have to do that to hit our goals, to hit a performance, to make sure that we hit payroll, whatever it is, but if we never take that moment, that means that businesses end up operating on that continuous loop, making the same mistakes over and over again, working blind to change and to change. And there's this evolution that's going on because your business is either growing or dying. It's never staying put. And it's my dad that was on that little, that continuous loop of working harder without figuring out how to get his business to work harder for him. My dad never made that shift to he was just working blind to change the evolution that was taking place. He really didn't understand what was going on or what he needed to do or where he needed to focus. He was always riding that emotional entrepreneurial roller coaster. I think we've all sort of been on there. So a company that shifts from its performance to its purpose can make all the difference in how people are hired, how the people there work, and how the company performs. So we're going to talk about that, because if you look at why the company does what it does and not just focusing on what it does or how it does it, this creates the starting point for developing or fostering the culture within the organization. And this is really, and it goes into this is what I believe in, is for me is helping my clients work smarter, not harder. And really helping them for you guys to help you sharpen your business intuition to work on focus on things that matter. And that's what I'm hoping that you're going to be able to get out of this workshop today, is figure out what do you need to be doing, working on your business to create your culture or to improve the culture that you're in your business, because you already have a culture, whether you like it or not. So, all right, so let's get down to the heart of the matter. So finding your company's why allows you to start working on identifying your values, or like I say, success behaviors. And values are the heart of our decisions we make and the influence behavior and our attitude. So thus, when a company defines their values, or those success behaviors, they attract people that are aligned with those values, including people that are more positive, committed, they're energized by the work itself. Ultimately, this creates a culture breeding chain reaction that filters all the way down to the customer. And here's why. There's 4 different areas. First, values, or our success behaviors, help build that culture. The culture helps employees to feel motivated. And then this is the employees, then their self-motivation is the driving factor for our customers' satisfaction, for happy customers. And then happy customers builds not only revenue, but profitability because they're buying from us again and again and again. So if you just sit down and look at it, think about all the people that you've let go within your organization. If you look back, they've never really shared the same values as you have. And that's why you had to let them go. But now think about the people that have been with you for a long time, those key team members that are on. The reason that they're there and they've stayed with you is because you have that shared value. But now as you start to define it, it makes it easier to be able to identify it in others. All right. So since the culture of a company is a reflection of its values, we just sort of talked about, it's the culture that is responsible for the many aspects of performance and the output of a company. So let me explain. So as I said earlier, we sort of mentioned, is that a strong culture means better employee retention. If employee has a sense of belonging, they're more apt to want to stay. I've working with a client that we've built up this great team culture within the organization, but there's always people that are in there they're more concerned. These were the guys that really didn't buy into the culture as much, and they were always looking to how do I make a better buck instead of how do I work harder and get promoted within the organization. I need to get another $1 more an hour because then now I can pay my bills. So they go and they leave the organization and thinking that the grass is always greener, and then what happens is usually within 6 months in a year they're looking for their old job back, because they realize that this place, even though they might be getting $1 more an hour, they might not be making as much, or they might not be as happy working with the people that they are, and that's really important. So you get those guys coming back, and now those guys coming back the second time, they tend to really appreciate the culture that is there. So how do we create this culture? So one challenge that we have when aiming to create a high performance culture might be the ingrained, those behaviors and processes that have carried the company up to the point of necessary change. So simply put, it's our bad behaviors that sort of got us here, right? It's our bad habits that we've created as leaders within the organization. So how we overcome this is to make this happen and be able to create a high performance culture. A leader must be able to inspire the employees into action, right? And they have to understand that the proposed changes must be very clear, well considered, and as a company and as a whole, the company's got to be involved. Because if you're trying to create a culture and change the culture from the top down, it doesn't work. Culture is transformational from the bottom up, because you can't train culture. Telling them to change or how to live their lives won't work. So we have to keep in mind that those sudden changes can also be perceived as negative, because most of us don't like change, right? And it's our responsibility as leaders within the organization, it's our responsibility to not make it an attack on the past, but it should be, instead, it should be presented as a step into the future, only made possible with you guys' help. This is what we are trying to create, and the only way we can create this great, happy working environment is through you. And then this is really is a transformational process. We need to turn those values into actions, or I like to say success behaviors. Like one of the most common values that my clients come up with when they're saying what are the things that are most important to them is integrity. But when I say what is integrity, everybody can have a variety of different information or definitions of what that is. So what we look at it is, how do we change that and turn that into a behavior? So the behavior is not the value is integrity, but the behavior is do what you say. Because when we break it down to the lowest common denominator, that's really what values mean. Right? That's what integrity does. So the second part, when we're sitting there, we're looking at it, is the power of communication. So a high performance culture, there tends to be open lines of communication, and this flow of information should be constant. It should be free from really the top leadership on down to every entry level worker. So an open line of communication is important for a team dynamic to thrive. As employees are informed, they make better, they become better company ambassadors. So as a leader, you want to make sure that the internal communication is a priority. To ensure that those messages are getting out, and ask yourself these three basic questions. Has everybody been informed? You know, is this information important to building a stronger team? And so and then how does this information affect their individual jobs? Because when employees feel that they're informed, they're more likely to stay engaged in that work. So we need to have constant conversations about these values that we've created, these success behaviors that we've created, that we've all agreed upon. Because get your team to recognize others living those success behaviors. And why is that important? Because when each team member is communicating to others and say, hey, I recognize you for living this behavior, they see it as being important for themselves, so they'll want to improve on it. It also reinforces that behavior within that individual as well. And other people on the team understand that, and it really creates a cohesive team aligned around those success behaviors that we create. So it's all about having this level of transparency within our organization. So a key ingredient to a high performance culture is that transparency. You know, so withholding, let's say, look at a lot of times is the business owners will keep their financials close to their chest. But if it's not open and in an informed way of running your business, you know, we need to share some of that information with our organization, and providing this, I guess, transparency on how the company is performing builds trust with your team. It keeps them informed. It's connected to what they do and how it relates to the bigger picture. So just think, if the team is left in the dark about how the company is doing, how can they expect to make sudden dramatic improvements? You know, that's why it's important, like on the football field, if there was no timer, then how do they know how do they know what plays to call at the end of the game to get that touchdown? You know, it's like, oh, okay, whenever it ends, if we give up the ball this time, we'll always get it back. We'll have one more chance. But if the time is running out, that affects our behavior and the plays we call and the things that we do. So your team needs to understand that, so we're all engaged towards this common goal. So, and then also sharing your company's numbers gives the employees a sense of ownership. You know, if we're not sharing this information, they don't know what to expect and how to, and what to aim for, what our goal is. You know, so having employees work not knowing what the end is not one of culture growing design. So you can't build a culture keeping people in the dark, right? So, you know, try to build rapport also by setting up quarterly meetings with your team, or at least an annual. What I do with all my clients is, on leadership teams, we meet on a quarterly basis, and with the whole company as a whole, we meet annually for strategic planning and what we call as a team alignment, getting everybody on the team focused on our shared values and our shared goals for the future. Because now we're showing them this is the result of their hard work, or the reason why they need to work harder. So, but people don't want to fail. They don't want to work for a loser. And so they always want to work for the best. So that's the thing that we need to is how do we help them become the best? So another aspect that we need to look at is, if you engage your team member and show them that you value them, then the majority is going to want to be part of that culture. People want to be of value. So thinking of the future is a big picture look at the company, but you want to look at more than the numbers and the performance of an employee's role in your success or failure is one of the most important things to consider when trying to predict what the future holds. So make your employees part of that growth. you know, if their role is to fill, you know, if there are roles for them to fill within the organization or projects that there needs to be a leader, look within your organization first to find the employees with the skills and most importantly, the ambition to fill those roles. They have those shared values that you have. You know, play to their strength, nurture your team on the individual level. Notice the work that they are doing. Use them as positive examples and show them that they are valued. That goes back to having your team actually notice those success behaviors in other individuals. But your job as the leader really is to create more leaders. So after, you know, because when you sit down, after all a high performance culture is sustained by its employees that feel valued, that feel noticed, and are nurtured. You know, remember, it's your team that builds your business, not you. And that's the most important thing to sort of really sit down and sort of remember. So we say is motivation is the team, not motivation from outside, but motivation from within. So when we're considering our company's purpose and performance as a whole, it's important to look at motivation in a way. And I'm going to say this sort of tongue in cheek is, you know, what happens when you motivate an idiot? You get a motivated idiot. So motivation really happens when the team members understand their role and how it fits into the success of the organization. They need to be motivated towards the company vision, towards the team role, and how their aspect of what they do fits into is the big key into this big goal that the company is trying to be. And let's say that we just want to be known as the best or the best place to work in Jacksonville or have the best company, whatever that is, that best that you want to strive for, they need to know how they matter within that. You know, so for an employee to be informed on that level and then the bigger picture, you know, it's your job to make sure that they have all the information necessary to understand the importance of their work and how working for it is really for the greater good. So and so the opposite is true. So when an employee is not clear on what their work means or how it affects others, they are more likely now to become disengaged. And a disengaged team does not feed into high performance. Every team member in a department should be clear on their role in the company, and knowledge gives the purpose for the work being done, and a sense of purpose fuels and sustaining the culture of productivity. So, you know, and they said that it's like a Gallup poll, I think, came out and it said that only 30% of the American workforce is engaged. That means, and I think it's like 50% are disengaged, and the other 20% are actively disengaged. They're like throwing the anchor out of the back of the boat and saying, hey, I'm not doing anything, slowing things down. But the study also went on and continued to say that for every $10,000 that you are paying a disengaged employee, you're losing $3,000 of profitability. Now so for every $10,000 that we send out with a disengaged employee, we're paying them, we're losing $3,000 in profitability. This is why culture is so important. So when we do get those successes, we need to celebrate it. You know, being clear about our company's goals and the targets means that your team will also be informed and excited when we reach our milestones. You have to let them know, hey, that we won the game. You know, and one way to keep the culture to keep that culture of a motivated team member strong is to take time to really celebrate those wins, celebrate those milestones, celebrate the individual successes, because it builds engagement, it forms teams. There's a bonding and that are really working, when people are working towards a common goal. Because again, people will buy you if they like and trust you, but they will work for you and be more engaged if they like and trust you as well. You know, so here's a little bit some ideas on some of my clients are doing for celebrating. Sometimes they're, obviously, but people love money, so you could offer some bonuses. Sometimes some of my clients, they have invite their clients back and have a family barbecue, or they obviously they have the employee of the month, create special awards and recognition, have a big breakfast around it or something in the morning before the day starts. Hold an all company, sort of town hall meeting, and really let everybody know inform them about the success of what's going on. It doesn't have to be a total big production, but just let them know that the things that they're doing and the hard work that they're putting in, you notice it and you appreciate it, because that's how we develop that employee engagement. Because team members who are engaged put energy and excitement into the work that they create. So if you want to build a strong company culture and maintain or hire a team who's loyal to the work, you must engage all of them. So if you want them to be engaged, you also have to engage them. So because culture is a collective concept, and it's produced by groups of people. So when your company creates together and how it performs together and is at the heart of the culture, it's not merely at the hands of the leaders. As I said before, it's the individuals, it's from the base level, that's where the transformation of culture happens. And the most important, really the most successful companies understand the input of all their employees, and it's through all the steps that we've mentioned that you engage. It's the transparency that we talked about. It's the nurturing. It's the helping them become self-motivated by understanding that their work really matters. The communication and letting them understand where things are going on, and then most important, celebrating those milestones. So let's look at some of these other key factors that help us in there. So compensation is always important, right? Everybody wants to get paid. So how we choose to compensate our team in a transparent environment is important. So while you don't have to have an open, everybody needs to know how much everybody is making, but giving the employees a clear idea of what the structure looks like can help incentivize them. Right? They need to know what they need to do to get a promotion. What skills do I need to improve on? And if I do that, I will be able to be given more responsibility, and with more responsibility becomes more money, right? So we first have to figure out what that structure is going to be, but then here's some things to really sort of consider, because our compensation structure affects three areas of our business, and one's obvious and the other two maybe not. But those three areas are the employees, our clients, and then also the company. So how does it affect employees? As basically, are we paying them a fair compensation? Is it enough to keep the employees motivated? So for clients, will your employees' compensation terms keep them motivated to create happy customers? If they're being paid the least in the industry, they're not going to be focused on creating happy customers. And then also, and how it affects the company is, will your pay structure keep that positive, motivated energy alive within the company culture itself? So just something, it's just food for thought to think about. So then also, most importantly, is we have to find the right fit of people. Do they fit right? Are they the right type of people that fit within our team, within our culture? So when we take a good look at our company, its values, and our purpose, we need to sort of look at it also on a micro level as well. So for instance, it's important when hiring somebody that you know exactly what you are looking for before you post the job. Not in necessarily what skills that they have, but what are they motivated by, right? What is their personality that they have? You need to be crystal clear on the goal of what your goal is for hiring, and also sort of what types of personalities would be best fit within your company culture. If you are considering bringing, a lot of my clients use different personalities tests or assessment models, and that you need to sort of know how you're going to use it first. Will you be testing current employees to help them better play to their strengths, or are you using it to determine if a candidate is the right for this position that you want to fill, or maybe it's both, but neither, it's either, but the why needs to be communicated to the entire team. So let's take a couple look at the two assessments that I tend to use is DISC and motivators. I like them because they're simple to understand, and they're simple to use. So what is first is what is DISC? DISC is a needs motivated. It allows us to observe behavior. It's a behavioral profiling system, observable behavior. So which measures the energy you are putting in to dominating problems, influencing people, studying the environment, or complying to different rules or details. So DISC measures our underlying emotions, our needs, our fears, sort of like the iceberg that we don't see we see the results of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, but we don't see what's below the iceberg. And and what are the things that are the drivers to our behaviors that we see above the iceberg. So what the motivators is it takes us to a different level. Is this now understates what motivates those behaviors, what inspires us, what is deemed important by us. Is really vital first step in our self-awareness and improving our human performance and effectiveness. Knowing our specific level of motivation can be crucial to helping us understand what drives our beliefs and our action so that we could bring them into alignment. Like, once a time I was working with a client and their leadership team, and we spotted a individual that was on his leadership team, and I was looking at their profile, and it's like when you're done at the end of the day, you're totally exhausted because what her job was and what her profile fit were sort of the opposite. Even though she did it well, it took a lot of energy that goes in. So some of the other ones that are widely used, a lot of people use Myers-Briggs, which is largely an indicator of how people think internally, where DISC measures how personality translates to external behavior. So I find it's just DISC is easier to apply and less maybe theoretical than the Myers-Briggs MBTI. This is not just for self-understanding. It provides a framework to understand others and adjust how you relate to them. Whereas the Myers-Briggs it's also helpful in this regard, but it's not as easily used as the way I look at it. So other ones that we use is the DISC 360 assessment. So we could see is how do others see you and your communication style, and another one is a work strength or workplace strength assessment, which sort of takes a look at 4 universal workplace requirements. Can this person work effectively with others? Can this person, remain engaged and effective under stress and pressure? Can this person prioritize their activities? Will this person accept and be accountable for their own actions? So these are some of the assessments that we use in trying to build our in our hiring and our recruitment process. So at the end, so we go through all this, we also have to, the thing to point out is we have to embrace our failures, because every business has experienced a product, employee, or a service failure. Hey, it just comes with our territory. But the best way to feed your company culture and to grow is to openly address our failures and to be open to discussions and feedback from the team. Failure could lead to more failure unless you're willing to learn and look at each failure and use it as an advantage to how do we get better? What do we learn from this? What do we need to do differently? And then finally is we have to ask for feedback. We need to do employees reviews and get feedback from them on what can we do to build and to grow our business. A good time to ask for feedback is, before annual company meetings or the annual reviews or just regular company meetings, quarterly, or just even in the moment. Just keep in mind that how you respond after receiving this feedback is just as important as asking. Remember, you're only trying to help by getting a different viewpoint. So don't just sit there and say, oh, well, that's not a good idea, or, oh, okay, thank you very much. Let them know that you appreciate the feedback, whether you want to use it or not. It's still feedback. And then I'm going to wrap up with this. So this is actually a slide that I just added to this morning into this presentation that I got from talking with another coach. And so it really comes down to is why do we have to create this culture? Because really relationships, culture is about relationships. Relationships are complex. And so what she talked about was a relationship complexity formula. It's the relationship between our number of team members and the number of relationships that we have within an organization. And the formula is simple, well, relatively simple. It's our number of team members squared minus our number of team members divided by 2. So when we sit down and we look at it, so if we have 2 team members, you and another employee, so that's 4 minus 2 divided by 2 is there's just one relationship there. But now what happens when we add one other individual? So now it's 9 minus 3 divided by 2. So now we have 3 relationships that we're working. Well, now if we add 2 more employees, we go from 2 to now 5. So we sit down and we look at, we're now dealing with 10 relationships. But what happens when we go from 9 from 3 to 9? It looks like we're tripling our team size. But what we're doing is we're increasing the number of relationships that we have to manage 12-fold. Goes from 3 to 36. So, think about that. As you grow, you're adding to the complexity of running your business. And this is why it's really that we need to work on developing our culture early within our growth stage. Because going from that 3 to 9 members, you're not just tripling your team, you're increasing that relationship 12-fold. And that's really, and that's why some people want to throw it in, just say, hey, I want to fire everybody and just go back down to just me and one other person, because you're only dealing with one relationship. But the culture helps you manage all those relationships. All right, so we're off. So if everything goes well, you're now ready to start building your high performance culture. Hope you found some value in our workshop here today. And I'd be honored if please give me some feedback or any questions, and best of really luck to everybody that's been here on this workshop. I've seen some amazing companies that are already on here, and some of really what I like to call fearless leaders that have been in attendance. But so last thing I want to thank you, and just sort of finish up with that. It really means a lot that I was able to share with you some lessons of really how to start making a difference for yourself and help to create a better team, how to help you work smarter, not harder. But it's time to get started. So please reach out if you have any questions or concern. If you found this webinar informative, you're going to find some previously recorded webinars plus this one up on my website. You can go to actioncoachwebinars.com. If you want to find out some of my upcoming webinars, go to actioncoachseminars.com. And it's really, and then also too, is if you want to learn how to build a high performance culture, just really call my office. My number's down here on the bottom of the screen, and set up a free coaching session. And and I think this way we could take of what we learned here in this workshop and this webinar, and how do we apply it for your team.